Between Heart and Reason, Part 1. Smoking is harmful to health. Let's stop violence against women. The moment of decision is destiny. Sorrow. From the first breath in this world, many began to place their hopes on me. I buried my own dreams, as others tied theirs to me. For the family, I am the co-earner, the silent song that keeps the home in harmony. A worker fulfilling everyone's dreams, yet, forced to abandon mine, since childhood's plea. At just 2 years old, I became the bearer, transferred from home to the school-like office. I didn't shed tears, but what could I have gathered? A thirst quencher for all, yet dry in my own heart. In the office, some shaped their art with clay, others built paths to rise above. In the world of words and deeds, I longed to shine, but the weight of responsibility turned me into a mere shadow of myself. Let my life be as it is, and may someone else write about it. Some might write sweet poems, while others may write their autobiography. As for me, I am just an ordinary person with big dreams, though I don't know how they will come true. I never did anything to become well-known in society, so maybe no one will ever write an autobiography or poem about me. Since childhood, I was never one to speak openly. I always lived in my own world. Even through my education, I had only a few friends, and most of them moved away, some went abroad, while others disappeared. As for my appearance, I'm neither too fair nor too dark. I never had a close friend, let alone a life partner. Life was never easy. People like me either get lost in art, in books, or in work when there's nothing else to do. That's why the few lines I've written here tell the story of my life. I am an ordinary person, lost in society, always afraid of what others might say if I do something. I never seemed able to move forward, but still, the moments of my life are written in my heart, and even the difficult times have a place in my story. While pouring out my sorrow on paper, I dreamed of becoming a writer, but it felt out of reach. I started writing short stories and posting them on social media. A few likes and comments came my way, which encouraged me to keep going. My mother shared her worries about Dashine with me. I gave her all the money I had, from both my salary and my bank account. She was happy to receive the money, but more concerned about the fact that I had quit my job. Even so, she still wore a false smile, and there was no spark in her eyes. Before I knew it, Dashine passed, and then Tihar came and went, but I hadn't figured out what to do. To move forward in life, I needed a purpose. Since quitting my job, I felt directionless, but when I traveled around Nepal, I found purpose. The vast plains of the Terai clear my mind and make it feel fresh. The trees in the hills spark new ideas, and the mountains teach me how to keep my thoughts steady and calm. I too wanted to travel around all of Nepal, but ironically, I gave all my money to my mother and didn't know how to ask for it back. I returned to my room with hopes of traveling, but my clothes were in disarray. Washed clothes were thrown on the sofa, dirty clothes were piled up in the corner, and the bed hadn't been made in days. Dust covered the floor. My dream of traveling around Nepal faded. I started cleaning the room, and while tidying up, my eyes fell on a drawer that had been left open. I had just started saving money from my work, but how did the habit fade away? I couldn't manage to save much. There were a few crumpled notes, 3,000 rupee notes, 9 500 rupee notes, 19 100 rupee notes, 26 50 rupee notes, and 2 5 rupee coins. In total, it was just 7,710 rupees. With that amount, I couldn't even travel across Nepal. Since I quit my job, from Dashine to Tihar, my mind had become clear and fresh. I didn't have enough money to travel to the mountains or hills. I thought about it a bit more, and the name Pokhara came to mind. It was a place where the trees had new leaves, and the mountains taught you how to remain steady. I decided to go to Pokhara. I had the money, and I had my destination, but I didn't have anyone to go with. Some were busy with work, and others couldn't make time. I had heard a lot about solo travelers, so I decided to travel solo as well. I packed my bag, and though I felt lazy during the day, I bought a night bus ticket. And so, my journey to Pokhara began. After having a quick meal, I slept on the bus. When I woke up, I was at the Pokhara bus park. It was pitch dark, and I had no idea where to go. Slowly, I heard a voice in my ear. "Are you looking for a hotel?" it asked. I froze. I turned around. A man was smiling at me. He wore a green down jacket, black pants, and sports shoes. His hair was shaved to a number 1, his eyes squinted, and his nose was slightly crooked. When he smiled, his teeth showed, but one of his teeth was missing. He kept looking at me, smiling. I hesitated for a moment. I shook my head, signaling, and he grabbed my bag. I followed him. He started his bike, and by the time we reached Lakeside, the sweet light of dawn had spread over the city. He found me a room for 1,200 rupees. It was decent, considering the price. The exhaustion from the bus journey hadn't worn off, and as soon as I reached the room, I collapsed into bed and fell asleep. When I woke up, it was already afternoon. I called home to let them know I had arrived. After changing clothes, I got ready to explore. I was alone and had no specific destination. I was confused about where to go. The uncertainty made it even harder. I had never traveled alone like this before, so I thought about going to Tal Barahi, a popular spot. I stepped outside and wandered around. It felt strangely difficult, an unfamiliar city, unfamiliar places, and a crowd of unfamiliar people. It felt like everyone was staring at me. It was as though there were thorns in my skin. Slowly, I stopped caring. I began to feel comfortable. It was as if Pokhara itself was welcoming me. I sat in a boat on Tal Barahi. As I reached the middle of the lake, my gaze drifted. Pokhara, after all, is a place where one can roam around the whole year, but the true charm of this place emerges from mid-October to mid-December. The weather is neither too hot nor too cold, the sky is a perfect blue, and in front, the Makapukar, the Annapurna mountain range, and the ever-present Baydam to roam. Paragliders soar like birds. Pokhara, a place where words fall short. As I returned from Tal Barahi, evening had arrived. Somewhere, in the restaurants, live music had begun to play. The atmosphere was lively, but my body felt drained. I headed straight to the hotel. When I reached Halanchok, my eyes were caught by a painting in a shop. The painting perfectly captured the essence of Pokhara. Early morning, the calm before the dawn, the sky lightening but still holding on to the night's darkness, the reflection of the mountains gently resting in the tranquil lake. Drawn to the painting, I moved towards the shop instead of the hotel. The artist had captured the scene dangerously well, I thought, but the price seemed just as dangerous. My courage failed me. I turned toward the hotel. Uli. Haku, a nickname from my school days, echoed from behind. The voice felt both familiar and strange. I turned around. He was wearing a black shirt with the buttons undone, a faded t-shirt underneath. His blue jeans were worn, a little grunge, a little shabby. His beard looked hastily shaved, sometimes thick and sometimes patchy. His hair was unkempt, messy, almost as if he didn't want to cut it, so it hung over his ears. His eyes, small and narrow, matched the sharpness of his face. His nose was flat, and his lips had a dark hue, possibly from excessive smoking, those lips that once had the soft, pale shade of school days. He was a schoolmate, a friend from my past, who had once been known by the name Nirnaya. I came to Pokhara after making a decision to do something. By chance, I encountered Nirnaya. He was a very friendly companion, almost inseparable during school days. We must have sworn to meet at least once a year on the last day of our SLC exams. But as time passed, the promise remained, while time itself slipped away. And so, I was meeting a school friend in Pokhara instead of Kathmandu. After a brief exchange of formalities, I learned that his uncle owned the shop. By the time we finished, half an hour had passed, and the shop was closing. It had been a long time since I had met such a friendly companion by chance. The joy was immense, and he seemed equally happy. Neither of us felt like listening to live music, so we decided to take a walk near Baydam, in peace and quiet. As we strolled, he led me to a quiet restaurant. We ordered 2 beers. As we drank and chatted, memories from the past began to resurface. I remembered how, back in school, his laughter was so loud and clear, but now, his laughter seemed forced, almost as if the sound of it was louder than the laughter itself, like he was trying too hard. I didn't feel like asking about the mystery of his laughter. Instead, I asked about his old friends, where are your jewels, Robin and Bikosh, star. The last time I had seen Robin was in a Facebook story video. He was exhaling thick smoke from his mouth, his hair curled into tight rings, his face clean-shaven, with a slight beard. It looked as though he was nodding his head in rhythm, as if under the influence. But I knew he had only been smoking marijuana. After our SLC exams, he had started using it regularly. I saw Bikosh in the school group chat. He hadn't changed much. His face was as smooth as ever, his beard neatly trimmed, but his hair was now cut in a military style. His lips had the same shade as if a girl had applied lipstick on them. His body had grown noticeably fatter. It seemed like he had started eating more after school. I remembered him saying after our SLC exams that he would lose weight, but it looked like that promise had faded away. I remembered a fun moment with them. The school picnic was idyllical. Everyone had gone to the viewpoint, but the 4 of us, me, Nirnaya, Robin, and Bikosh, had sneaked away to drink beer, away from the watchful eyes of our teachers. At that moment, Robin started playing a Nepali rap song on his phone. Bikosh, annoyed, said, "Ugh, stop playing such vulgar songs," and switched it to a soft Nepali melody. Robin didn't take it well. He shot back, "What's vulgar about it? Let me explain the song to you, then talk. You know, the one that goes, Kuan Ri, Tayo Geet, Banjo Ketma, Taraki Salam Cha Mayalai, Pahilo Betma, what's a banjo cave, empty field, then? And what's this, Taraki Salam, standing like road? And Pahilo Betma, first meeting? In response, Bikasha's face turned red and blue, and he fell silent. Nirnaya was left stunned by my question. He took a long breath, then downed his beer in one gulp. Everyone's busy with their own lives, he said, his answer sounding a bit harsh. He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he ordered another beer and finished that in one breath too. The silence lingered, and I waited for him to answer. I didn't want to push further, but curiosity got the best of me. So, where are they? I asked. I don't know, his reply was blunt, as if he didn't want to remember the past, but I was filled with curiosity. I didn't want to beat around the bush. Look, your fake laughter, and the harshness in your answers, I figured this much out. Something must have happened in your life that's eating you up from the inside. If you want, share it. The more you share, the easier it gets.